Charlie the Cannibal. There he is. That's UFC fighter Charlie Campbell.
This kid, first of all, seems like a lot of anger in those eyes. I don't know, man.
You had the initial opportunities to get to the UFC when you were invited to the UFC Contender series. You lost your fight. When that happened, did you think it was over?
There was a period of time where I thought, hey, I blew it.
Tell me about one thing you think people don't know about fighting.
More often than not, the people that speak the most are usually the ones that know the least.
There was a big fight with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
It was like a propaganda marketing campaign that it would be competitive.
What does a boxing fight with Jake Paul and Charlie Campbell look like?
He's gotten better, but it's not a world-class fighter by any means, no.
We're going to play a game here. So I'm going to say a name, Conor McGregor.
So that's a roller coaster. If you attach your emotions to this guy, you're going to be proud of him and disappointed constantly.
Sean O'Malley.
See, there's a thing.
And last one, Donald Trump.
No, I'll answer it.
How's your health right now? And who do you want to fight next?
Hear me well? Can
Yeah,
you see
you're
me
good.
well?
Yeah, we see you.
Okay,
Hear
cool.
you.
Cool.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie the Cannibal Campbell is a UFC fighter, and he's currently 9-2 overall as a fighter, 2-0 in the UFC. And you have a wrestling background. You are originally from East Rockaway, Long Island, and you started wrestling at the age of 6 years old. And you began competing when you joined the Limerick Titans wrestling program. So, to start off, when did you know that you wanted to be a pro fighter?
I think the level of intensity escalated over time and how serious I was with the dream. But I do recall being 7 or 8 years old, watching some combat sports, watching Pride Fighting Championships, watching boxing, and deciding there and then and speaking about it, not just keeping it to myself. I would tell my family that's what I want to do. And I could say it started, as early as 7 or 8.
And so, how was their reaction to that?
My family?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say that some of my family members were excited to hear that, and they fed into it. And then there were some that refused to believe it, and they would rather me not do that. So they didn't, so it was either 100% or nothing as far as the support, at least initially.
Gotcha. So, when did you realize, as you were leveling up, that you could go the distance, you could make it to the UFC?
I don't think there was really a time that I said, hey, I actually can. It's not just a far-fetched dream. I don't think there was a day that took place. I would say there was maybe a time where I might have believed for just a year or two that I should do something else. There was a time I got away from it for a short period of time, at least in my opinion. Now, looking back at 2 years is not that long of a period of time, but I always felt in the back of my head that it was what I was supposed to be doing, and it would be like a shame not to use my gifts to go and give it my all and at least try to get there. But I was determined. I was determined from a young age that as long as I went for it, it was going to happen.
Nice. And so you made a lot of noise in the regional scene, and then eventually you had the initial opportunities to get to the UFC when you were invited to the UFC Contender series.
Yeah.
That's what Dana White hosted that. That's when we talked about it when you were coming up to do that. And that's when up and coming fighters have the chance to win a UFC contract for anybody who doesn't know. And you lost your fight to
Yeah.
Chris Duncan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when that happened, at that point you'd only lost one other time. What was going through your mind? How did you like, losing a fight is a mental battle in and of itself, and you haven't lost much.
Mhm.
So, given the stakes, what was going through your mind, and did you think it was over?
That's a great question. I get asked it a lot about that, and what it was like immediately after. What was it like trying to decide and come back from it? I get asked about it a lot, and it seems like each time I'm asked about it, more emotions. Um, I get more reminders of what it was like to be in that spot, and it feels like yesterday because it was so deep and so the emotions were so strong. But there was a period of time where I thought, hey, you know, I blew it, and that was only because of my health. That was only because of my health. It wasn't so much that I was ready to throw in the towel and give up on this dream. It was okay. Concussions are pretty serious, and not only that, when your brand gets hurt, like that wasn't just a
Yeah.
loss. Getting knocked out, like it is I think it's easier to get promoted in this game when you can be sold as a little bit as invincible. So when I couldn't get marketed like that, these were just voices in my own head though. You see, I had to change my thinking on it, and then I changed my life and my perspective on how to reapproach it. So for a while it was negative, negative, negative. The thoughts were not helpful. And I did a lot of work on my mindset. I started speaking to an amazing sports psychologist, Micah Schnurstein, and instead it became, hey, you know what? This is a positive. Let me show people how resilient I can be. And when I had lost before, you had mentioned, and when I started going after the dream at a young age, as I got older and I became full time into training, and I withdrew from college to continue putting more time into training, the mentality was, I'm getting there, and I'm deciding in advance to never give up. I know there's going to be adversity. So it was time to show that. It was time to show that. I made that decision. And then, maybe when I was 19, 20 years old, and, to never give up, I'm going for it. And I'd say that I was 26 when that happened. So, or 27. So that was tough. It was very tough. And, I just, you know what, I said this is a good thing. So once I started changing my thinking on it, I was able to make progress and be productive each day toward building myself back up.
Very cool. So you mentioned you got a sports psychologist, and to that point, who were some of your biggest supporters around that time? Maybe personally or other fighters. Who were they?
Yeah. Um, he always was there as this number one, I would say, but my uncle Pete stepped up even further into again helping me continue to believe in myself. So my uncle Pete's been a huge support from day one, but when that happened, it was more of that. I had some friends really step up, check in on me more often, and I would say that again, making it feel like a positive. There were tough things as well. We don't have to go down a rabbit hole of, but when you have a negative happen to you like that, and you're pushed off this mountain you feel like you're on, that you're climbing up and you're doing great, as I was for so long and building so much momentum. There are people that fall away from your life as well. So it's sort of sometimes it could be a good thing because it's almost like it filters out the fake ones kind of thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
everyone in my life has taught me something one way or another.
Gotcha. So you did eventually get the call, and you're in the UFC now. Do you recall that feeling? when you got that call?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah. I think I was sitting like pretty much in this chair, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
and it felt surreal. It felt like the call came twice because when I got the call for the Contender Series, number one, you envision yourself winning. So it, but again, for a moment, because of my health, there was at least a few months where I was like, okay, is it even smart to continue going after this? The sport is dangerous. That whole talk starts happening in your head. But once I battled through that and continued going after it, and then it finally was fulfilled, the dream, and I got that phone call, and the date was locked in, the contract was signed. That felt really special for sure.
And so you have a wrestling background and you are a big pro wrestling fan. You got Legion of Doom in the back, the spikes, I see.
Yeah.
Um, and you have, from what I've seen, you have a lot of charisma, my friend.
Thank
You
you.
you're a big Dwayne The Rock Johnson fan, the final boss. And after both your UFC wins, you paid homage to him in your post-fight interviews.
Yeah.
So, how long before a fight do you know what you're gonna do post-fight?
Uh, I'd say every single day of the training camp, let's say 6 weeks, there could be some slight jokes here and there within myself that I'm like, oh man, that would be funny, and I just drop it, or I hop on a call with my one of my best friends, and we just start feeding off each other all these ridiculous things and ways I could go. That might happen a few times a week at least, right, leading up to fights during the camp. But on the week of the fight, there's that same friend of mine, Anthony, who flies in. Usually, it's Las Vegas. He's able to spend time with me, help me get through the process of cutting weight. He's a big part of my team, and what helps ease the intensity of these moments. Cutting weight, it's uncomfortable physically, and it's tough mentally, knowing you've got this fight coming up. Days away. So it makes things a little more comfortable to laugh. Humor is great, as we all could agree,
Yeah.
and we start really narrowing it down and really visualizing what I could and should say and where I should go with it. So there's a lot of thought put into it. Um, some of it gets tossed out in the moment. First of all, you better hope that you win. You're
Yeah, yeah.
not getting the mic unless you win. So that's priority number one. And then you don't know the kind of condition you're really going to be in. For instance, the last one, I had more I wanted to say, but I was really not feeling well. If you look at me, man, oh man, and that was a rough experience. What the moments right after that fight. So I'll just say that, but you kind of go off on the fly a little bit. You gotta might have to adjust some things in the script,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your earliest memories of watching the WWE and WWF?
My family was they were big Bret Hart fans. Um,
Nice.
so I remember them being really upset about the Montreal screw job. I was a Bret Hart fan. Um, Stone Cold, his come up and with that character, and then their the whole thing they did with him and McMahon,
Yeah,
like that
the Attitude
that
Era.
was amazing. That was art. That was a masterpiece. So there are a lot. There are a lot of these memories I have, sitting like pretzel style as a little kid on the carpet watching on Monday night. Uh, some of it you wonder whether or not it was is like a dream, because like how it is. We're around. How old are you?
26.
Yeah, like like when do you really believe your memory really began? Like you don't remember like your grandparents holding you when you were two. Like when does it really start? So some of these memories, I'm not asking to really answer it, but like some of these clouded memories, you don't know whether or not it was like a dream, basically, at some of this stuff. But there are moments for a fact I know that took place in my life because um, it's factual now. I know that stuff happened. But Stone Cold, I'd say he hasn't been mentioned or any reference of his used yet, but
It's coming.
yeah, I would say yeah, definitely. He was like, I haven't spoke about him enough in my own opinion. He's a huge part of my childhood.
So you have the mic skills down. Were you ever interested in going to the WWE? Is that ever a thought?
I think as a kid, it never hit me that. First of all, I believe that if I'm a huge believer in like that cliche quote of if you believe it's possible, it could be, and if you don't, then sure, it definitely isn't type thinking. I'm big into that. I don't think there was a time that I ever um, grew the belief that I could. I almost, I don't know why I might have even just disqualified it. Like I never even considered it. It doesn't seem like it being realistic now. Okay, I'm 6'1". I never really was over 190 pounds. Who's to say it isn't possible? Only I would be deciding that. But when I was young, there definitely could have been. There had to have been. But I think my family was shutting it down almost immediately because they could really influence your thinking. When it came to the UFC and Pride Fighting Championship, I don't know why they. See, it might have to be my uncles and my uncle Pete because he was a huge fight fan. All my uncles are huge fight fans. Most of my family were big into the WWF, WWE, and but my uncle Pete wasn't. So I don't even remember him watching ever. But Uncle Pete was there a lot. I'll send you some clips of or pictures of him and I from childhood to
Yeah.
later on, and in the UFC Apex and stuff. So if you want to add those in at any point, but I don't know. It felt like maybe those. And again, now I'm thinking back to this kid on the carpet. I don't know if those WWF WWE thoughts went anywhere because there was no one specific in my family that was like, "Yeah, go for it." You know, I'm not blaming anybody. I don't know. I don't know. Then again, these guys are like an average of like 230 pounds and 6'5", but who knows? It's still possible.
Right. And so your nickname is the Cannibal, and I saw you
Mhm.
tell this story once to Ariel Hawania, but I want to ask you to tell it again, how you got that nickname, the Cannibal.
Again, I'll say this one more time. Some things in childhood, you're not sure whether it was a dream or not, but this is a fact that I I was biting people. There's no other way. There's no soft way to put it. A lot of toddlers teethe, and that period of time extended far beyond the norm. And it was like a funny joke even in elementary school. Like I didn't bite anyone that deep into elementary school, but by sixth grade it was like known that I used to. And a buddy of mine just came up with it. It's that simple. He said it, and it stuck forever. Sixth grade, buddy of mine said it.
So I'm gonna put a picture up when I edit this of you from wrestling at 6 years old, and we used it. Actually, there he is. There he is. That's UFC fighter Charlie Campbell. That was you in the Limburg Titans, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this kid, first of all, seems like a
Repeat
lot
that.
of anger in those eyes. I don't know, man. But
That
he
kid will
was
beat your ass.
he was at practice every day, man. This was like the kid that didn't miss a practice. But at the same time, there was still a love-hate relationship with wrestling because it was so difficult. But I enjoyed being there. It's so weird because I enjoyed being there, but I didn't want to go. It was the weirdest thing. Like once I got there, it was like I was home. Like I just went onto the mats and participated like my life depended on it. But I knew there was a switch that had to go off, a competitive switch that I think became unhealthy for such a young kid to be putting himself in. And again, it was my own thoughts of the pressure I put on myself to perform at a young age. And Like I didn't want to go there, but because I knew I put so much pressure on myself, but I would do well. But it was only because I built it up in my head that like it was crazy, man. That like no one would like me if I didn't win. So I've actually had conversations with my coach back when I wrestled for the program, Hillary Becker, and
Shout out to Damien.
yeah, awesome guys, yeah. So you know, I told him that I really did not like it, and he couldn't believe it. You know, that was like the worst thing that Hillary could hear. And I said, man, the thing is, I didn't share my thoughts with anybody that could probably help me back then, but especially that young and all these adult figures that have been there and experienced a lot. But I convinced myself that if I lost, no one would like me because I was getting so many pats on the back because I was like undefeated for years. And I told him that, and I said, "Hey, man, I'd love to get more involved. Maybe identify that kid that's doing well, which couldn't be too hard, and make sure he's not putting himself through the same things I was. Because I would bite my nails down to the bone. Not really, but yeah. But I put a lot of pressure on myself at a young age, and yeah, wrestling, yeah, Limburg Titans. I'm so obviously so grateful that I had that resource, and Limburg provided that for me.
You ever get into a fighting school?
Stockley is such a small town. It's such a small school. When people ask me about high school, and at first I tell them, hey, I don't think you realize, like, I don't know how many kids you graduated with, but I graduated with about 80. And I say something like, everyone knew each other's mom's middle name. Like, it really was, I wouldn't say you're always so super close and friendly with exactly everybody, but problems usually didn't arise. You know what I mean? It just, everyone knew each other. There was really, I honestly, I no, I wouldn't call like any of these altercations or arguments like really escalating to getting that physical because it was such a small town. It was like if you had an issue with somebody, it would you maybe someone you're friendly with is like very good friends with that person. So the circles were tight, even if you weren't connected with that person. Someone you're friendly with maybe has chorus class with them and they get along. So like things didn't escalate, and that was obviously a good thing.
So, how has your life changed since you got to the UFC?
I think there's been I think there's been a lot of confidence gained in achieving it because of where I fell short. And when you fall short on a world stage where there's a lot of media attached to it and cameras and lights, a lot of hate comes. They all come out, man. They start typing, and
Yeah, keyboard
that
warriors.
can bury you. That can bury you if you allow it. You know, none of that stuff matters. You know, I could do anything. There's gonna be someone saying I should have done this, and there's always gonna be that these people. I don't know. God knows how they have the time to do it, but there's always gonna be someone that says something, no matter how successful you are or whatever. But when you really, fail, like I did temporarily, came up short. Um, there were a lot of people that came out and start making comments on social media, every platform you can imagine where that clip was, and it was scattered everywhere. It was number one on the list for a minute. So finally having achieved the dream of being in the UFC and overcoming that, you try not to think about what those people say when you're at your lowest, but the fact that I actually did achieve it, you feel like, okay, I shut those people up. So that kind of felt good. But I think my confidence in whatever I go ahead and venture off into eventually in my life couldn't be any higher because I believe wholeheartedly that I overcame the most difficult thing, mentally and physically combined, that anyone I could see myself that I've ever met could ever go through. I'm not saying I've met people that couldn't do it, but I'm saying that I think that, of course, it's biased, but I mean, it was very hard. And being that I did go through it and did accomplish my dream through all that trouble, I could do anything. I could do anything. Yeah. So there's a lot of confidence. I think my confidence where it was hurt for a while too. So that difference, that's why I feel this way.
The right mentality is everything.
Oh my God.
So, what's your training schedule like?
I listen to my body. And when I say that, I'm saying it because you don't want, to me, what works for me may not work for another athlete. What works for them may not work for me. You got to find what works for you to make you the best version of yourself. And it's a constantly evolving thing, maybe. But I don't set things in stone. I listen to my body. I look at my film. Where do I need work this week? What happened yesterday? Maybe I should go attend this class or go and spend time with this coach because of my film, which is important. You have to look and really identify where you need the most work based on the previous training sessions. Where should I spend my next one? So that's what works for me. I don't put things in stone. Every day is different.
Yeah. Where have you made the biggest improvements since you started fighting? Is it grappling, striking, stamina?
I could make that a simple answer and just say the grappling, because even though I wrestled at a young age, East Shockway didn't have a program. I had to go into jiu-jitsu when I was 13 years old, which was great, which was a blessing. But once I went to jiu-jitsu at 13, the academy I went to had a Muay Thai and an American boxing program. So once I became exposed to that, I got away from the jiu-jitsu. So as much as I started wrestling at a young age, there was still a period of time where I wasn't doing a bunch of wrestling. I fell in love with the striking. Okay. And I'd say over the last, like, let's say 7-8 years of, from when I withdrew from college and went full speed into it, it is the grappling. Thank God for Aljamain Sterling giving me his time, helping me develop these instincts, not just in open space, but with the cage. It's a totally different martial art almost going on. It's not wrestling. It's cage grappling. It's different. And he's the man. He's the best in the world at that stuff. So having him as not just a training partner, having him as a mentor and a friend, he was a big part in helping me with the Contender series. Also, he had dealt with something similar. So great dude, great coach. He's helped me a lot with the grappling over the last 6, 7, 8 years. But even then, my striking has gotten better as well.
Another Long Island guy. A lot of fighters coming out of Long Island.
Yeah, something
So,
in water.
yeah. So after your last fight, during your post fight, you shouted out a couple people, and one of them was your mom. You wanted her to come into, they didn't have time to get her in there, but
Yeah,
t
those
t
guys. I should have stayed stubborn and been like,
get
"Shut
her
up,
in
she's
there.
coming in here."
So
I could have.
tell me how your life was growing up and how your mom supported you.
Well, I'd say that her being an only parent obviously was difficult, right? I haven't been an only parent. I don't know, but if I had to imagine, right? So as I was growing up and dealing with maybe my own demons, because it's not easy when your parents are split. But I had so much. First of all, I had so much family that thank God they were around, right? I was raised by the Greek side of my family, and I had so much support, right? But still, for some reason, these just, again, our own minds do this to ourselves, And when you're young, you can't even identify what's going on, but it's your own mind playing with you, 99.9% of the time, or 100. I could confidently say 100% of the time, it's your own mind. So when you're I guess a kid and you have that broken family, technically a lot of questions just come up that you're asking yourself and answering yourself, which is unhealthy. So I was going through my own thing, and my brother, who's 1 year older than me, it was tough, I'd say, for the both of us. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he handled it better, maybe he handled it worse during that time. But I'd say even my mom was still, like, I was trying to find myself and what and my own happiness and being content with what may have happened before I was born and right after I was born, because my parents were split by the time I was like 2, not even. And so you don't know. There's a lot of unknown. And you start answering these things on your own, which is not great. So you start making things up. But I think as I was finding myself and figuring things out, my mom was still figuring her own life out. And again, thank God for the family we had. So she had to be really tough and strong to get through her own stuff. So she's got to be um, applauded for that. And
Shout out to Mama
yeah, it
K.
wasn't. Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy for her. If I had to guess, yeah. Thank
Did you
God, thank God for the family we had. Sorry, but I mean, still couldn't have been easy.
did you know your dad? You ever met him?
Yeah, no, I've met him. Yeah, no, he lives in Florida, and yeah, for whatever reason, they're. I mean, I know the reasons. It would take another 45 minutes to talk about, but
Yeah.
if they weren't compatible, that's really all that matters. That's how simple it is. They weren't compatible, and almost immediately after they did split, he moved to Florida with his parents. So there was great distance between us. But yeah, I've spent a good amount of time around him.
Sure. So how did Mom react when you were trying to be a pro fighter? This
Dude, no. First of all, there was never. She never doubted it. She never doubted it.
Okay.
Never doubted it. It's funny because there's been a development of her able to watch it.
Mm,
There were amateur kickboxing fights where I'm wearing what looks like a football helmet on my head, and we have a whole bunch of gear on. Have you ever seen what it looks like an amateur kickboxing fight? Right, big gloves, big headgear. It's as safe as it can be, right? And she would pray in the bathroom. She wouldn't want to watch it. Okay, so it's funny how now she's reached a point where in the last one she was cage side. You know what I mean? At the
right.
toughest level of competition. So no, she supported it. She supported it.
Uh, so yeah, in your last fight, you shouted out a couple people. You also shouted out Tim Tebow. So you shouted out the Tim Tebow Foundation. So what's the story there?
I think over the last few years, there's I mean, obviously there's been more highlight on what's going on in the world, and Tim Tebow's pivoted his whole platform toward bringing light to that. I don't even know the numbers over the last few months, but everyone knows this. Along with the immigration, there's a lot of kids coming in that are being taken from their parents by strangers, promising that they're going to bring them to the USA. I don't know. God knows what goes on. Um, so I think that it says a lot about Tim Tebow to get away from broadcasting like he was growing, and he probably had enough of a following to get into maybe acting one day, but he's pivoted his whole focus toward bringing more light to that, raising more with awareness, raising more um, like authoritative government attention. So they create more programs and more groups, more really really high level, like beyond FBI level groups that are targeting these predators. So I think for him to go and do that instead of pursue his career in Hollywood and being in front of the camera and in front of sports, he'd be great at that. He was, but I think it's amazing what he did. So I wanted to first of all not just make that post fight speech about me. He should be applauded and honored for what he's doing. I mean, yeah. I mean, I wish there was more I could do. I wish there was more I could do to be more involved with him, or anything related to trying to help. I'm always trying to make my platform, whether there's, someone's dog there, they need someone to rescue a dog. I mean, if I have these followers or that moment with the camera and the mic, why not, try to help the world somehow? You know what I mean? That's what it's
Yeah.
all about.
So another thing you're involved with. So you teamed up with Guardian Revival. So
Yeah.
that's a nonprofit organization that improves the mental health and well-being of first responders and military folk. So you have no military history, uh, but tell me how you teamed up with them and how that partnership has been.
After the last fight, someone reached out to a teammate of mine and asked him, "Hey, are there any UFC fighters that are available and would love to work with us to bring exposure to what we're trying to do?" So obviously, there is a lot of mental health attention attached to veterans, and so much so that, like, unfortunately, there's suicide cases rising. So because of my own experience and in psychology with what I went through with the Contender series, I owe my sports psychologist, I owe the study of my own mindset to psychology. So this organization is trying to raise awareness and raise money. That way, there's more resources for these veterans. Perfect, perfect. I want to help that. It was that simple for me.
Awesome, awesome. So tell me about one thing you think people don't know about fighting.
First of all, I think it's this sport that there's such a large number of people that think they know something about it, where but the difference is way further in how much they actually know what's going on. Even if a kid played football as a kid and played football in junior high school and played football even maybe at a college level, but they didn't make it to the NFL. They're watching the NFL. There's got to be things that they're able to pick up because they played it their whole life. Unless you've done martial arts, so now compare the two. Unless you've done martial arts your whole life, usually not provided by a school district, why would you know anything about what's going on TV? Imagine me never playing football. We all know somebody that's shouting at the TV that never played. Oh, just throw him the ball. Just do this, do that. To me, I love engagement. These sports don't exist without the fans, without them having passion for what's going on. So everyone serves their place, but and make it all work, right?
Yeah.
But in fighting, it's just more often than not, the people that speak the most are usually the ones that know the least. So when it comes, I don't know if that really answers your question, but I do believe this sport is the one that truly the one, they couldn't, people really don't know what's going on half the time.
Gotcha.
Unless they've done it themselves. But how often do you come across that,
Right. So speaking of fighting, there was a fight. There was a couple fights recently, but there was a big fight with Mike Tyson
Yeah.
and Jake Paul. So I saw that you predicted that Jake Paul would win. And
Yeah.
it kind of went how you went. Tyson looked good in the first 2 rounds, and then his age kind of crept in, looked like. So what'd you think of the fight first? I'll get the next. I'll wait for that, and then I'll ask the next question, actually. So what'd you think of the fight?
Okay. I'll answer that one very short. It was exactly what I thought. But to my last answer or talk about people not really knowing what's going on, that's majority of people that tuned in. Casual fans, people that kind of know who Mike Tyson is, kind of know who Jake Paul is. It was like a propaganda marketing campaign that it would be competitive. The guy's basically 60. But no one really knows. I mean, I was really, really confident that the way I felt it would go. I'm not a wizard, but I was really right on that one. A lot of people are saying it. A lot of people don't know what they're talking about. But a lot of people don't know. So you put up a few videos of a guy in his 20s. They put together a few highlight reels of the guy training hard, which a lot of people don't know how videography works. They don't understand that they could tell the guy, okay, give me all you got for 10 seconds, go, 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 go. And then the guy rests for 10 minutes. And then they develop a trailer that makes it look like the guy's, training like he's this young bull again. I knew it wasn't going to be competitive. I can't believe it. And again, anyone who told me that they thought anything could happen, of course, but you run that 100 times, Jake Paul is going to win 99 times. Of course, anything can happen.
So next question was, what are your opinions on Jake Paul as a boxer?
As a boxer, or as a
Yeah.
person, or
You know what? Give me both.
okay. As a boxer, he's a freak athlete. I mean, they had wrestled, both him and his brother. They are athletic, and I believe that if you apply yourself, any skill is learnable. Trust me, if I decided right now, that I wanted to be a lawyer and I was going to go through all that process and all that studying and all those years of school, I could do it. These guys are athletic. They obviously already had a lot of financial freedom and time and resources on their hands because of the money they have. Let's say they get the best coaches possible to help them. And the time, it's all about time, right? He has learned a lot, right? He's not like a world-class boxer by any means, but put together some propaganda and he could be drawn up like one pretty simply. He's obviously a bigger guy, and he's gotten better, but it's not a world-class fighter by any means. No. As a person, I think he seems like a really smart individual, great at marketing himself, and he's advocated for some things I agree with in the fight world, and probably a straight up guy outside of combat sports for sure.
So now he's 11-1. What does a boxing fight with Jake Paul and Charlie Campbell look like?
How many minutes in each round? Because I would either beat him in the first round or second round. If it was 3-minute rounds, first round. If it was like 2-minute rounds where I have a shorter period of time to work and he can avoid me, I'm being realistic. It might take 2 or 3 rounds if it's 2-minute rounds. But it's a different level. He is a much larger guy. These questions never arise in a real life fighting because he's a much larger person. However, I do feel like my skill set and my ability to generate power can compete with his regardless of the size difference and weight difference. The skill set for sure, but the power still, I so happen to have the ability to maybe hit as hard as maybe someone in his weight class. So that therefore I think, and I know I would be able to, get him.
Well, we'll clip that, see who sees it. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, sure.
so we're gonna play a game here before we
All right.
wrap up.
Cool.
So I'm gonna say a name, and you could give me one word, and if you want to say more, you can, but just one word. And then if you want to give more,
You're gonna say a name?
yeah.
Anybody in the world?
I have a couple.
But are they all connected to fighting, or are they some of them
Yeah,
actors or
yeah.
presidents? Or who
They're
are the
all
people?
connected. They're all connected to fighting in some
Oh,
way.
okay. I hope I know them all.
Yeah, you will. So first one, Dana White.
One word I'm allowed to say?
You can say more if you want.
Oh, smart businessman and legend in the promoting game. I wouldn't have access to do what I do and make money doing it if it weren't for him. So, legend.
Next one, less connected, but you'll know him. Dave Portnoy.
Oh man, I gotta say legend again. It's so nice to see someone be able to speak their mind and not get canceled. And um, it seems like the guy's got so much personality, and it's right there for everyone to. It seems like what he puts out is really who he is, and I love that he's so proud and shameless, as everyone I think should be. Be yourself. Don't put out fake content and try to be someone you're not. I think there's a lot I don't even know about him, but from the stuff I do know, the guy's a legend.
Jermaine Sterling.
Again, bro. Legend, man. Legend. Long Island legend, UFC, future Hall of Famer, hero of mine, great friend, great person.
Sean O'Malley.
See, there's a thing. The person that they are when the lights turn on and the camera's on them, it might just be for the cause of trying to get viewership. And so I don't know him personally. I don't know him. So how cool am I to give you my opinion on somebody? I don't know. From what I've seen, a lot of it's a little ridiculous, a little phony, but I don't know which one I'm looking at. I don't know if basically we're seeing this, where WWE has influenced some of combat sports with Endeavor owning both companies. But I don't know who he is personally. It's not fair for me to say anything.
Conor McGregor.
This one's so tough because even as I was coming up and making that swing into going full time into this, I saw his come up. So that was really inspiring. So that's a roller coaster. That's the word, roller coaster. You might as well sell shirts that say I'm a roller coaster, because if you attach your emotions to this guy, you're going to be proud of him and disappointed constantly. It's the cyclic pattern. You know what I mean? He could donate $30 million tomorrow toward the ASPCA for animals, and I would respect him. Then you never know what he's going to do the next day. So you might as well he's a show. You want to keep your distance emotionally from someone like that, because it's like being a Jet fan. Put it that way. Yeah. All right. You know what? They're doing terrible. Here it is again. Oh, we're gonna beat the Texans. Get everyone invested again. Come on now.
That was good.
Yeah.
John Strickland.
I had the privilege to meet him in Las Vegas, move around with him for a quick 5-minute round. And from my experience, he's a gentleman and a really cool guy. You probably have seen more content on him. I don't follow him on social media, but it seems like when someone says something controversial, each of these other UFC related pages that have credentials will blast it out there. So I've seen him say things that I don't necessarily disagree with. They're just like very controversial topics. So it seems like he gets himself very involved, and that could be good because you're reaching people that agree with you, and you're also putting yourself out there where there could be a large population of people that don't agree with you. Regardless, zooming out from all that, he's being himself. It seems some of that stuff where he's talking and giving his opinion on things, it's organic. So to me, like, even if I don't agree with some of it, I'm not saying I don't agree with it. I haven't even watched that much of it, but I know it gets a lot of attention. But at the end of the day, he's being himself. So I got to respect that. It's up to us whether or not we want to. How we feel about it is on us. I don't know. Like, he's being himself. You got to respect that.
So we got a couple more, just a few more. Dustin Poirier.
Another guy I've met a few times. Serious gentleman. I'd say I met him honestly before he was a millionaire too, and really cool. And I got a chance to speak with him a few months ago in Vegas. Same cool guy. So he's down to earth. He's humble, very accomplished. He's a future Hall of Famer as well. And in my own experiences with him, like that one I can actually speak on, because I haven't spent time around Sean O'Malley really. But a guy like Poirier, class act.
Joe Rogan.
Another guy that seems to be himself on camera, so I respect that a lot. I respect Joe Rogan.
Final one. Well, I mean, there's two, but I might not make you
Take
answer
your
this
time.
last one. Logan Paul.
So again, a Paul brother. Incredible athlete. Amazing marketer. And, if you talk about those two together, if I knew what getting into YouTube at 10 years old would have done for me, and just documenting more of the things I was doing, I won't say I was doing the exact same things they were doing, but a lot of kids were. Just no one was filming it and publishing it on a streaming platform. But Those guys are super smart. I think they not no, I don't believe in luck, but they took a chance. They did things that anyone else might have been able to do during that time in their life, and it really worked out for them. So I'm not a jealous person. I think they both brothers are great. Logan, incredible what he's doing in the WWE, and I have a buddy of mine that's cool with him in the Pokemon world, and I've heard nothing but great things. It's hard for me to speak on someone I haven't met, but from what I've seen, I got to give him credit.
Gotcha. John Jones.
Another like McGregor-ish. You don't know what to expect. Seems like he might be really maturing, getting older, turning that page in his life where he's maybe surrounding himself with better people on a regular basis. I don't know, because that is everything, right? Your circle of influence and stuff. But obviously just a natural martial artist, and one of the best. One of the best. I wouldn't say he's the best of all time, honestly.
And last one, but you don't have to answer this one, but connected to the fight world, as you've been to a couple of fights. Donald Trump.
No, I'll answer it. So you want me to, again, I haven't met the guy, just so you know, I haven't met him. You want me to say like how I feel him getting involved with the sport? Is that what you meant?
Yeah,
Or just in general as a person?
You can go any which way you want to go with this one.
I would think that he can, again, help this country. I think he doesn't need to go crazy on Twitter. Sometimes I wish he would say less, and he'd probably gain more of a following, because you're only providing like ammunition for people to flip it. It's like sometimes saying less would do more, because in today's day and age where there's like AI generating propaganda, and I think he's a great guy. That's just because what I think, because I haven't met him or spent any time around him, but I'm excited for his second term.
Very cool. All right, that's all we got. So that was good. So, final question. So your last fight, I have to get to this one. Your last fight was in April, and you won, obviously. How's your health right now? And who do you want to fight next?
My health is way better than it was about a month ago, because I don't know how much you read. I was supposed to fight November 16th, and had to unfortunately withdraw from the fight. I'm doing better now. I'm not familiar with the process of coming back from where you have to withdraw from a fight. I never had to withdraw from a fight. So there's a lot. It sounds crazy to say like as much as I do. Like that sounds wild, but I'm figuring it out, and as much as I do. But I should know soon. That would mean that you would know soon.
All right. Anyone you want to call out or no?
Yeah, man, McGregor. Would love to fight him.
Okay. All right, there you go. All right. This is good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Campbell, UFC fighter.
Always a pleasure. And we'll follow up about the other stuff in the near future, I'm sure.
Of course. Thanks, everybody, and peace.